right, so we're now at 4.3, and in 4.2 we identified key feature of a line with a graph. Now we are going to identify key features from a line with a table, and we're going to generate the equation. We're going to go above and beyond what it's calling for us to do, because I know you know how to generate equations. All right, so we have a table here, and we know the x and the y value, and you guys know that f sub x, the function of x, equals y, right? And equals mx plus b for a linear function. So, meaning if you plug in a value of x, you get the y output, right? So this means f sub x equals mx plus b, right? So f sub x and y are synonymous. Same thing, samesies, okay? So our domain, our f sub x, is the same thing as y, right? This means that this function is a function of x, or y is a function of x. When I plug, x is my input and my output is y, or this function is y. Just a real quick reminder in case you forgot. Okay, so this is my domain, or my input, and then this is my range, or my output. Domain's my left and right, and my range is my up and down. My vertical axis versus my horizontal axis. Okay, so let's look at if we can pick anything out here that sticks out. Well, I have x is 0 and y is -4. So I have a 0, comma y. That is a y-intercept, right? Or a 0, comma b. Like y, that's my y-intercept. So I already know right away that my y-intercept is -4. -4, or 0, comma -4. I have a point. That's important. Okay, so I got a 0, comma -4 right here at my point. Right there, that's important. That's my y-intercept. Okay, so, and like always, I need to figure out the slope. I'm going to pick out some convenient ones to handle. I'm going to use my y-intercept and this 2, 1. That's going to make it easy to do math with. All right, I'm going to call this, I'll call this point B, right, because it's my y-intercept. I'll make it easy to correlate together, and I'll call this one point A. So this is going to be my B x value. This is going to be my A x value, and this will be my B y value, and this will be my A y value. And you remember that my slope equals my change in y over my change in x, right? Remember, y goes on top, okay? Because my slope, my y equals mx plus b, and my x's have to cancel out. And so in order for that to happen, my x has to be on the bottom, because x is on the top right here. Okay, so anyway, my change in y. Let's do b minus x since b's on top. All right, so let's do b is going to be -4. Let's do, I'll define it first. It's going to be b minus a of y and y, and then b minus a, x, and x, because y's go on top, x's go on bottom. All right, so it's going to be b -4 minus 1 minus 1 is going to be -5, and then on my b sub x is going to be 0 minus 2 is going to be -2, so negative divided by negative is a positive, so my slope is going to be 5/2, so positive 5/2, right? So I know everything I need to know to figure out my equation, right? I know my slope equals, or sorry, my y equals m, which is 5/2 x plus my y-intercept, which is -4. So I have my sweet equation y equals mx plus b, where b is negative, making it y equals mx minus b. All right, so much my x-intercept. Well, I gotta remember, my x-intercept is gonna be where my y value equals 0, right? So I gotta set 0 equals 5/2 x minus 4, like that, right? Because my x-intercept, at my x-intercept, y equals 0. So I gotta solve for x here. I'm gonna make this 4 equals 5/2 x. Multiply both sides by 2. This is gonna be 20. No, that's not right. 8. It's gonna be 8. 8 equals 5x, and then x is gonna be equal to 8/5. And that's gonna be like 8/5. 8/5 is like 1 3/5. So it's like 1, and it's like right here-ish. Like right there-ish, I guess. I'm not comfortable enough to draw my point based upon a loose guess estimate. So I'm going to pick some other ones, like a -2 and a -9. There's a good point that I can draw, and that's all I'm gonna do. All right, so I'm gonna take those points and see how close Hey, I was pretty close. So this was I also had to do my endpoints. So this is my one endpoint, -2, -9. And my other endpoint was 3 and 3.5. So this was my other endpoint, 3, 3.5. So those are my two endpoints of my line. And that was pretty close. This is going to be a rough is pretty good. It's a best fit line, if you will. All right, so that is my line. Make my dots really big, and it comes out all right. All right, so here we go. That's my line. Okay, so what is my domain and range? Remember, my domain is how far it's going to go from here to here in my rectangle, right? So my domain starts at -2, and then I got an x in there somewhere. It's going to include that -2. I got to move this over a scooch. Okay, and then it ends at and includes 3.5. Yeah, so I'm gonna write that. I'm gonna say my domain equals the set of all values of x such that I have -2. So such that x is greater than or equal to -2, but less than or equal to -3 or 3.5, and is an element of all real numbers. I'm getting better at saying that stuff. Okay, so that's that is my domain. Okay, now how about my range? My range is going to include all my upsies and downsies, all my potential outputs. When I put in my x value, it's going to spit out one of these purple numbers. Okay, so the minimum it could be is when -2 is my input. It could be as low as -9, right? And it could be as high as 3.5, including when my x value is 3. So So my range is going to be including the set of y such that y is less than or greater than or equal to -9, right? But less than or equal to 3.5 and is an element of all real numbers. Yeah, so that's that one. So I hope that makes sense. It's not too difficult. This is the hardest thing to do is like saying all the stuff, right? Another way you could have figured out the equation for this, if you didn't recognize that this was the y-intercept, but you figured out the slope, you could have been like, oh, I got this y minus something equals my 5 halves times x minus something, and picked off two numbers like this was 2 and this was 1, this was 1, and this was 2, and then you cleared the parentheses on that side, and you multiplied 5 halves times x to get 5x over 2, and then these cleared, the 2's canceled out, giving you 5, and now you just got to solve for y. So multiply everything by 2, multiply every term in your equation by 2. The red means I multiplied it by 2, giving you 2y minus 2 equals 5x minus 10. Right now you just got to do everything but the y term on the right hand side. That means that this -2 comes to this side, right, and becomes a positive 2, and you have 2y equals 5x plus 8. Divide everything by 2. Right, so now you'd have y equals 5 halves x plus 4, and did I forget? What did I do? Oh, this should be negative. This should be negative. I made a mistake. That should be -2, and then this would be -4. Yeah, -4. Yeah. So then you have your y-intercept is -4, like you have up here. And there you go. It's another way to do the same thing if you didn't recognize that that was your y-intercept right off the bat. Okay, so hopefully that helps out and you understand a little bit more clearly now on how to identify key features from a line on a table and figure out the equation. That was pretty sweet. Lines are cool.